You open a package of ground beef. The outside is bright cherry red. You peel it back, and the inside is gray. For a lot of people, the next move is the trash can. $12 of meat, straight in the garbage, because gray looks like something died twice. Now here's the thing I can't get out of my head, and it's why this video exists. There is ground beef sitting in American supermarkets right now that will stay bright cherry red for 3 full weeks. Not 5 days, 21 days, in a sealed package, without ever going gray or brown at all. Nothing was added to the meat, no dye, no coloring, nothing that appears in the ingredients, because ground beef has no ingredients, it's beef. And the thing that makes that possible is banned outright in the European Union. In the United States, it's legal, it's been in wide use for years, and there is nothing on the front of the package that tells you whether the meat in your hand was packed that way or not. So you've got 2 problems, and they're opposites. You're probably throwing away meat that's perfectly fine, and you might be buying meat that looks fresher than it actually is. Both because of the exact same thing. You were taught to judge beef by color, and color is the single most manipulated property in that entire case. By the end, I'll show you the gas that does it, the petition that tried to get it banned in the US and failed, and the reason a brown burger patty can be dangerously undercooked, which is the part of this that could actually matter to your family. But we start with the gray because there's a good chance you owe an apology to some hamburger. Beef gets its color from one protein, myoglobin. It sits in the muscle and its job in the living animal is to hold on to oxygen. After slaughter, it keeps doing what it does chemically. It reacts with whatever oxygen is around it. And depending on that reaction, it shows you a different color. There are 3 states, and once you know them, you'll never look at a meat case the same way. When there's no oxygen at all, myoglobin sits in its base form, and it's purplish red, dark, almost maroon. This is what freshly cut beef actually looks like. Deep inside a package, or inside a vacuum-sealed cut, or in the center of a chub of ground beef, this is the color you get. The USDA describes it plainly. Fresh cut meat is purplish in color, and the interior of the meat may be grayish-brown due to lack of oxygen. When oxygen hits the surface, myoglobin grabs it and becomes oxymyoglobin, and that's the bright cherry red everybody associates with fresh beef. It happens within minutes of exposure to air. That's why the outside of your package is red and the middle isn't. The outside met oxygen through the film, the middle never did. And when that reaction goes further over time, the iron oxidizes into a third form, metmyoglobin, which is brown. So the gray or purplish center of your ground beef isn't decay, it's the absence of oxygen. That meat has simply never met air. Open the package, spread it out, wait 15 minutes, and you'll usually watch it turn red in front of you, which is a genuinely satisfying thing to see once, and it's free to try tonight. Now, I'm not going to tell you that gray always means fine, because that's not what the USDA says, and I'd rather you have the real rule. Here's the actual line. If the interior is grayish-brown, that's oxygen. But if all of the meat in the package, including the outside surface that has been exposed to oxygen, has turned gray or brown, that may be a sign it's beginning to spoil. That's the distinction that matters. Gray inside, red outside is normal. Gray everywhere, including the exposed surface, is a warning. Location is the whole test, and color still isn't your best tool. The reliable indicators are the ones you can't see. Smell. Spoiled ground beef has an unmistakable sour, ammonia-like odor. Texture. If it's slimy or tacky, that's bacterial growth, and that's a hard stop. And the date on the package, plus how long it's been in your fridge, nose and fingers beat eyes. That's the whole first lesson, and it's already saved you money. Which brings us back to the thing that started this. If beef color is nothing more than myoglobin reacting with oxygen, a reaction that progresses over days, then how does any package of ground beef stay bright cherry red for 3 weeks? It doesn't happen naturally, it has to be engineered. And the way you engineer it is by controlling the air. The technology is called modified atmosphere packaging, and the concept is simple. Instead of sealing meat in ordinary air, you flush the package with a specific mixture of gases and then seal it. Change the atmosphere, change the chemistry. There are 2 common approaches, and they do opposite things. The first is high oxygen packaging. It floods the package with 60 to 80% oxygen, far more than normal air, plus carbon dioxide. All that oxygen drives myoglobin hard into the oxymyoglobin state, so the meat comes out of the pack of vivid cherry red. Hold that one in your head because it comes back at the end of this video in a way you won't expect. The second is the one this section is about. Instead of adding oxygen, you take almost all of it out and add a trace of a different gas entirely. Carbon monoxide. Yes, that carbon monoxide. In the United States, the FDA has granted it generally recognized as safe status for use in meat packaging at concentrations not exceeding 0.4%, a tiny amount, typically combined with carbon dioxide and nitrogen making up the rest. And here's why it works so well. Carbon monoxide binds to myoglobin and forms a pigment called carboxymyoglobin, which is bright red. And the bond it forms is significantly more stable than the bond myoglobin makes with oxygen. Oxygen's grip loosens over days and the meat browns. Carbon monoxide's grip holds. How well does it hold? In a published study, raw ground beef held in that 0.4% carbon monoxide packaging remained bright red throughout a 21-day storage period. 21 days of cherry red. And more broadly, this style of packaging can extend the sellable shelf life of meat from roughly 5 days to as much as 15. Now, that shelf life extension is not fake. The low oxygen environment and the carbon dioxide genuinely do slow the growth of spoilage bacteria. Less waste, longer distribution range, lower cost. Those are real benefits, and I'm not going to pretend they aren't. But you can already see the problem, and so could a lot of other people, because the color stopped tracking the age. In 2005, a company called Calsec filed a petition with the FDA asking the agency to rescind the use of carbon monoxide in meat packaging. Their argument was direct. Carbon monoxide makes meat appear fresher than it actually is by creating a bright red pigment that masks the natural aging and spoilage of meat. The petition did not succeed. Carbon monoxide packaging remains legal and in use in the United States today. The European Union went the other way and banned its use in meat packaging entirely. Same technology, same evidence, opposite conclusion. And I want to give you the industry's side properly, because it's not empty. Their argument is that carbon monoxide doesn't actually hide spoilage, because spoilage announces itself through smell and slime long before you'd be fooled by color. And if the meat goes bad, your nose still knows. There's research supporting the idea that the color does eventually fade. Carbon monoxide is slowly lost when the meat is exposed to open air, and at least one study found a carbon monoxide pretreatment that enhanced color while still allowing visible discoloration by the use-by date. The counter-argument is essentially, color was never a great freshness test anyway, and we're not obligated to keep it bad on purpose. You can decide which side you find more convincing. What's not in dispute is the underlying fact. The redness of that package is a packaging decision, not a freshness reading. And nothing on the front of the package is required to tell you which packaging system it went through. So that's the raw meat. Now here's the part that made me want to make this video in the first place, because it flips everything around, and it's the one piece of this that genuinely matters for safety. Remember high oxygen packaging? The 60 to 80% oxygen system that makes raw beef look vividly red on the shelf? That process changes how the meat behaves when you cook it. And not in a good way. It's called premature browning. Ground beef from high oxygen packaging can turn completely brown on the inside, looking, to your eyes, fully cooked, at internal temperatures far below where it's actually safe. One study found brown cooked color at internal temperatures as low as about 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Other work puts premature browning around 131 degrees. USDA's own research service tested this on a grill and concluded plainly that a burger with a brown center is not necessarily cooked and safe to eat. Ground beef needs to reach 160 degrees Fahrenheit internally. That number exists because grinding distributes any surface bacteria, including strains like E. coli O157:H7, throughout the entire patty, so unlike a steak, the inside has to get hot too. Now stack the two facts. Most people were taught to check a burger by cutting it open and looking for brown. And a common packaging system can produce a brown center 30 degrees before that patty is safe. That's the payoff of this whole video, and it's bigger than the gray meat we started with. The same industry that made raw beef look fresher than it is also, through a different packaging choice, made cooked beef look more done than it is. Color got engineered in both directions, and the one thing you were never trained to distrust is the one thing that stopped being reliable. There's even a mirror image version with the carbon monoxide meat. Those patties can stay somewhat pink internally even when cooked to 174 degrees, well past safe. So that beef looks undercooked when it's actually done, and people overcook it into leather trying to chase away a pink that isn't going anywhere. Red when it's old, brown when it's raw, pink when it's done. Color is telling you about gas, not about meat. Let's ground this, because this channel doesn't do panic. Nobody is being poisoned. The carbon monoxide levels used are minuscule. The FDA reviewed them. And this is not a case of toxic gas in your food. The concern raised by critics was always about masking appearance, not about the safety of the gas itself. High oxygen packaging isn't dangerous either. Oxygen is oxygen. Ground beef in the US is inspected, and the packaging systems in question are approved and widely used across the industry. And genuinely, modified atmosphere packaging reduces food waste on an enormous scale. Meat that stays sellable for 15 days instead of 5 is meat that doesn't get thrown out. That's a real benefit to real people, including you, in the form of lower prices. What's at stake here is that a shortcut you've trusted your whole life, look at it, judge it, has quietly stopped working and nobody sent you the memo. So here's the 10-second test. And this one might be the most practical thing this channel has ever given you. First, gray on the inside, red on the outside means oxygen, not spoilage. Don't throw it out. Spread it on a plate and watch it turn red if you want proof. Second, if the entire package, including the exposed outer surface, has gone gray or brown, treat that as a warning sign. Third, judge freshness with your nose and your fingers, not your eyes. Sour or ammonia smell, or a slimy, tacky surface. Those are your real signals, and neither one can be packaged away. Fourth, and this is the one that actually protects your family, use a thermometer. Ground beef to 160 degrees Fahrenheit every time, no matter what color the middle is. A brown center is not proof of anything. A digital instant read thermometer costs about as much as one of the packages we've been talking about, and it's the only tool in this entire video that can't be fooled by a gas. And fifth, if you want to sidestep the question entirely, buy from a butcher counter where it's ground in front of you, or buy a chuck roast and grind it yourself. Meat that never went into a modified atmosphere is meat whose color still means what it used to mean. None of this means your ground beef is unsafe or that anyone lied to you. It means the color of meat used to be information, and then it became a design choice. And the packaging that made that possible is not something you're required to be told about. The red is the pitch. The thermometer is the fact. So go look at the ground beef in your fridge right now. Is it gray in the middle and red on the outside? Or has the whole thing changed color? Tell me in the comments. Type inside if it's just the middle, or all if the whole package has turned. And be honest, how many of you have thrown away a package that was completely fine? And if reading a package better than the people who designed it is your kind of thing, subscribe to Behind the Label. The next one you pick up, you'll turn it over first.